Yes, before you say anything, I know Randy has somewhat redeemed himself in Streaming Wars Part 2, I am aware of this, but his redemption doesn't erase how irritating he was during his Tegrity heydays, so let's talk about it. The divide between the South Park main antagonists, Cartman and Randy, was never more apparent to me than during the Streaming Wars Part 1. How could I be so annoyed with Randy's actions, yet so entertained by Cartman's equally as reprehensible antics? Let's talk about it. Ever since Season 1, Cartman has been somewhat of a villain. Though he definitely took a more sinister turn in Season 5, at his core he was always a spoiled, selfish kid who manipulates those around him. That's another thing. He's a kid. Not only does this make his actions feel a bit more justifiable, okay, I said a bit, because hey, kids are dumb and selfish at times, but it leads to some pretty hilarious scenarios. Cartman making Butters believe they're in the apocalypse just so we can go to Kyle's birthday party is classic Cartman, and it is beautiful. On the other hand, Randy hasn't always been this way. In fact, modern Randy contradicts previously established bits of his character. For example, let's look at another one of Randy's alter egos, Lord. While this persona could make questionable choices at times, for the most part, Randy's intentions were pure. He just wanted to make music and make his daughter, who looked up to Lord, happy. Randy was so much more sympathetic here, but that doesn't mean he wasn't hilarious. Matt and Trey literally had their cake and ate it too. Randy used to have layers. Tegrity Randy is greedy and childish and stupid. That's it. It's not funny most of the time, it's just kind of irritating. And it feels like whiplash compared to who Randy was in the earlier seasons. Sure, he was always a bit dim and could be selfish, but it was in small doses, like in The Losing Edge or Bloody Mary. When it's multiple seasons of Randy as an insufferable weed farmer, it loses its charm very quickly. And that's another thing. Charm. Eric Cartman is absolutely oozing with charm. Just look at this kid. I think a big reason is that his evilness is very calculated. He does just as awful, if not worse things than Randy, but just seeing his bizarre yet elaborate schemes, like faking the apocalypse or pretending to be dead, are so hilarious and always have you on the edge of your seat. It's always simultaneously funny and interesting to see how off the wall and manipulative he is. Randy isn't really manipulative or calculated. He's more spontaneous and can just be summed up as Randy's being a jerk. Now laugh. It's not like Cartman, where we're waiting to see how his stupid plan will unfold. There's no mystery or progression here, just Randy is a jerk for 22 minutes. Like I said, Randy has more charm in small doses, like a one-off episode here and there, and even then he didn't feel completely flanderized, but there's a bigger reason I think Cartman works so well and Randy doesn't. Let's talk about consequence. More often than not, Cartman receives some sort of comeuppance for his heinous actions. In Osimo, he's manipulating Butters by pretending to be a robot. But throughout the episode, his situation gets progressively worse, and that's where the humor comes from. He's even exposed in the end, which is not only hilarious, but satisfying. In Cartman Land, an episode about Cartman being insufferable and still getting his way, he ends up losing his amusement park in the end. See? Consequences. Randy just makes his family consistently miserable with no comeuppance. Instead, he just goes as far as he wants with nothing to keep him in check. Now, this can be funny every once in a while, like with the pandemic special. And in Cartman's case, Scott Tenorman must die. But, I don't know, it's just not funny to see someone just continue to make life worse for those around him with no real stakes. It's just depressing. It's also why Ginger Cow, I think, is the only Cartman-centric episode that doesn't really work. Even when watching a comedy as lighthearted and bonkers as South Park, it's important to appeal to the audience's sense of justice, unless it's an intentional narrative choice in a show like BoJack. As shown with Cartman episodes, being fair and being funny are not mutually exclusive. You can have both, Matt and Trey. I know this video made me sound like I really hate Randy, but I don't. The reason I complain about Tegrity Randy so much is because I feel like it does a disservice to his character. I just miss the days of Cream Fraiche, of the Easter special, of Carry On Wayward Son. The time Randy canonically progressed trans rights with the song Push. I miss this guy. Ultimately, Cartman is a better villain because he never has to break his established character. He receives consequences for his actions, yet remains one of the most hilarious, iconic aspects of South Park. Well, that's it for this video. In Cartman's words, screw you guys, I'm going home. Thank you guys so much for 400 subs. I cannot believe it. I'd like to give a little shout out to SSJ Kids. He's such a real one. He's basically been here since the beginning, and I love seeing all of his comments. Check out his Sonic X series. I promise, guys, I'm still making Sonic videos. I'm just mixing it up a bit for now. Look forward to a bigger video I have planned. Have an amazing day.
I made you eat your parents. Jesus Christ, dude.